Oh, wait. Bob. I probably have things set up wrong, you guys. I got too excited. I think I have the wrong microphone that I'm using. Da, 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 da. Do, 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 do. Yeah, I'm probably using the wrong thing here. Do you care? How's the sound? If you guys care, I kind of care, but I think I have to end the stream. Yeah, you can't change the settings with this thing. Oh, until wait, maybe you can. Hold. No, you can't change your audio settings once you start because YouTube. Okay, so let's screw the sound. Let's just keep going. So where was I with this riff? Oh yeah, it goes like boom, 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 boom. You go into session and you want some more. The RPG gonna lead to war. The dragons come and the zombies rise. It's session night high. Okay, wow. Oh no, this stuff is pink. Well, I've committed now. I popped the top. It's in my mug. I thought it was beer, but oh, sweet mother, what in the world is that? I love to see how when I'm doing this stupid crap at the beginning of my live streams, people show up and then they leave. Because if you can't handle no acapella metal, you can't handle no rune hammer, that's where you're at. Yo, greetings programs. Jesus. Jesus has nothing to do with this. Anyway, hey John, thanks. Hi everybody, welcome back to Runehammers. This is Drunken Dragons. I'm Hanker Inferno, Ingrid Bernal here. This past week I got yet another name. I know people are always confused about what my name is supposed to be. Brandish Gilhelm and all this stuff. Braden Gilman. And now another one came up. Bardon Gullymon. Bardon Gullymon. It's like my navigator name when I'm operating boats. They call me Bardon Gullymon. Now, it's not that hot today because it's September now, but it's muggy. It's muggy, baby. It's muggy, and we got to plug in things. Oh, God. Homeowners who are becoming their parents grunt. And they bend over to, hi, everybody. Ingrid Bernal here. Hi, everyone. And yeah, my great home city of Philly, PA, has indeed been inundated by Thor's wrath. But my neighborhood is in a pretty good situation. We are not by the Schuylkill River, so it's all good. Shit got crazy, though. Mannion. Props out to my Manayunk people. Manayunk is a centuries-old drinking location, if you can believe that, and it's still a great place to go drink beer. And it was completely flooded, so that's super sad. Hopefully, all those people will be able to rebuild, and we can get back there and drink beer and help them recover ASAP. But if you look up some of the Philly stuff, the most Philly thing of the Philly stuff that's up there is the guy tubing down Interstate 76. So if you want to know what Philly's all about, yeah, he probably just got a tetanus shot like the day before. So he was just like, fuck it, let's mess around and find out. Anyway, oh, wow, maybe I can put down a big mug of that. That's pretty good. It's from Workhouse. Workhorse. Guys, hi. Being a little chaotic, getting a little excited. It's kind of weird to stream on a Sunday. Sunday is usually my drawing day. It's where I kind of set everything aside and try to block it all out, usually with very little success. And, just, I can't show you that page because that would give too much away. Is there such a thing as giving too much away? Anyways, yeah, so just Sunday is usually where I just get into drawing. I just try to just enough of all this crazy wanting to succeed bullshit. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the stream. It is Sunday evening. Your old buddy Hanker and Fernail here. I've got this weird pink beer stuff in my mug. You find things in your D&D fridge down in the basement. You don't know what it is. You think, oh, that must be beer. No, it's this. Why? I don't know. There is alcohol in it, though. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Okay, this week we are going to be talking about session 19, which was a much end of sentence. No, it was like a curveball in the campaign. So for those of you who are following my I don't really have a title for this campaign. I probably should, but it's the Dirty Jobs crew. And it's the system we're using is Old School Essentials. We are on our 19th session, is in the bag. We're going to take a week off because we got some travel happening and some people need to take care of some work and family issues. And then we're going to reconvene for the legendary session 20. And I'll talk about that a little bit later. But session 20 is seriously no joke as far as campaigns go. Did you guys see this recent study too? It's crazy, based on like people responding to surveys, that 6 sessions is the average campaign. And it doesn't mean that the campaign ends. It's just that is the average length of a cohesive group playing the same storyline, is 6 sessions. So I told that to my group and they were just like, what the fuck could you possibly get done in 6 sessions? Now remember, less than a year ago, 8 months ago, these guys were complete newcomers. So it's kind of beautiful to see them already to the gloat point. They'll be gatekeepers within a year. You'll see. telling people you're not a real D&D player. You shouldn't be here. Go watch Star Trek. You go watch Star Trek. And not Deep Space Nine either. You got to start at the beginning. No Odo for you. No Odo. Yeah, so if you want to be a professional dungeon master, it looks like the best way to do it is plan a 6-session campaign. Oh, wait. You can't plan more than one session into the future. Otherwise, you completely negate player agency. Well, I guess we're going to have to make this into a Kermit the Frog meme. But there are other people more suited to doing that. Make sure you have impact font on the quick draw. Kiki. Anyway, hi. Okay, let's talk about session 19. Now, you guys know how it gets. I kind of have to build up to this. This is like some fireside storytelling kind of stuff. And once I get in there, there's no coming back out. So before I go in there, let's do some quick housekeeping. You guys, please go check out the stuff I'm releasing. It's the internet. You can figure out what I'm up to, but I am proud of what's going on. And I have little releases that have been popping out too that are starting to reach people's tables this, like the last few days, which is really, as a game designer, is the most exciting part. I mean, like getting paid, I can't deny that is exciting, but it's so cool when people are doing sessions. Like it is, this big wheel is beginning to turn. So there are some Viking Death Squad sessions that have been played, and I've been receiving messages about those sessions. So that's awesome. And around the world too, like the PDFs are reaching crazy new people because Modifius is giving me this new reach. So I'm making contact with a bunch of new people who didn't really know about me before, and talking about Viking Death Squad, and maybe asking a question about this little piece or that little piece, or maybe something in their session that got a little crazy. I had one session report where they were granting 2 actions per turn, which I have no idea why we would do that. Maybe it's like a Pathfinder mindset. So they're using both attack rolls and skill rolls in the same turn, and they're getting like all this crazy math spaghetti, and they had a great time doing it. So that to me, that's a great feeling. Also, my little game Pirate's Crown is starting to reach some tables. So we got like, family game night and Pirate's Crown are like peanut butter and jelly. So getting some response for that. It's so fun to hear that people are, chilling with their parents and stuff, or their kids. It's just a matter of perspective, whether you're chilling with your parents or you're chilling with your kids, or maybe if you're lucky, you're chilling with your parents and your kids at the same time. I don't know if that counts as lucky though. That, my friends, is a far deeper discussion than this channel is equipped to make. Okay, so anyway, it's not really, I don't want to plug what I'm working on, but what I am working on and what I'm working to release is starting to slowly sort of reach people. And that is what it's all about. That's the fun part. So it is happening. Get out there on the internet and figure out what I'm doing and see if you're interested in all that good stuff. Okay, so without further ado, let's get into the Dirty Jobs Crew session 19. And, drink one if you got them, because the world's getting a little crazy these days, you guys. I was just in the dentist, mind you, just getting a little cleanup on the old twofers, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh, well, you got this little thing, you got the, like, and literally my dentist goes, hey, don't worry about it. It's the end of days. The fuck? Seriously? Don't worry about my twofers because it's the end of days? That's heavy sarcasm, man. That is a heavy time we're living in when you're getting dentist apocalyptic joking. I remember back in the day, dentists didn't know anything about like apocalyptic fiction or jokes. You'd be like, yo, we're going to get that filling done. I just finished watching Mad Max. And they'll be like, what's that? You know what I mean? That was like 2 years ago. Now I'm getting hit with dentist post-APOC humor. Man. Last little bit too. Trying to take a weekend off. I've been working really hard to get this Modifius work done. And I got to say, it is a massive learning curve. I've just done print on demand stuff, and getting everything done right for a full-fledged, like large scale printer is a lot of cryptic, crazy stuff to me. So I've been getting that done and kind of stressing out. Had to take the weekend off. Friday night, we got out, saw High Reaper live, and it was fucking life-changingly destructive. Also the band called Gristmill. You guys got to check them out. Ultra sludgy, slow, minimalistic swamp metal that will make you want to be creative and like watch TV shows with the sound off. That's how cool it is. So we saw those bands. Also saw Red Touch Black on Friday night, and they're starting to sort of evolve. They're a young band, and they've been changing a lot show to show. You know what I mean? It's a completely different band show to show as they look for their sort of jam. And so getting out and doing all that stuff and arguing about Gremlins and Spawn and Thanos, till 2 a.m. in the bar, like that's real life. And I know everybody in the world has different levels of real life returning, but every once in a while you get a little pocket of it, you know what I mean? And it's super, super dope, and it's great. So it's been a good weekend. Okay, let's talk about session 19. Now, as you guys remember, session 18 was basically a huge you can't rest cliffhanger on Rock Island. Rock Island is infested with the Frog Nation, with frog people. We got portal gulpers, you've got corrosion spitters, and you've got frog hulks and frog warriors. So I have 4 types of frogmen. Now, since these sessions are done, I can, really comfortably show some of these. So yeah, like here's the session 18 page in my journal. It's a complete mess. It's a total mess. There's like tracking hit points and damage and all kinds of crazy stuff all over the place. But you can see the 4 type of frog monsters right here. That's what these big arrows mean. So in session 18, these guys like leaned into fighting the frog army. And you guys saw some of the Instagram posts that I did where these guys are taking on like 120 frogs at the same time. They're using area damage. They're using invisibility. They're climbing trees. They're using some mobility stuff that they have. They're using their loot. They're also disposing of loot, which I love when they do that, all to overcome this massive force. They are leaning in on exploring the secret of Rock Island. They are not going to be scared away by a frog army. That was session 18. We come into session 19 for reasons I don't fully understand. It must have something to do with human psychology. These guys come into session 19, and before we even really sort of, draw the curtain on the sort of what y'all been up to kind of a thing, there is talk brewing that they're doomed, that there's no way they can handle this island, that they have to get rest or get the hell out of here. Like, they've lost this spearhead mindset that they had. It's not up to me to tell them to spearhead. It's just not up to me. So I'm like, whoa, okay, well, this doesn't bode well. So we go into it. They refuse to accept the fact that they can't find a place to rest. Now, I know that a lot of you guys watching, if not every single one of you, knows that this is a syndrome that happens to mid-level players, especially in their early part of their sort of D&D lifestyle, or their sort of D&D era, is that about 4th and 5th level, they start learning how crucial rest is to their group, because the wizard is casting things like haste. And if both casts of haste have been used up, because our wizard has a ring that allows him to cast a spell twice, they create a boogeyman for themselves. They decide that without haste, that without these spells, this sort of repertoire of spells, there's no way they're going to be able to handle this island. And they get this in their head. And so they have to rest. So many of you guys and girls, both and neither, have asked me over the last months and years about what do you do about a group who just wants to rest all the time? And I always give the same answer: time pressure. You have to apply time pressure. If there's no time pressure, of course they can rest. But on Rock Island, we do have giant insects. It's bedrock covered with grass, so there's nowhere to rest. It's like where Goonie birds live and stuff like that. But remember, at the end of session 18, they discovered this huge cliff face with all these holes in it. In their desperation to rest, they decide that what they're going to try to do is rappel down this cliff face into one of these holes. Mind you, and this is a bit of a spoiler for the later part of the reveal tonight, these are all launchers. They're like cannon. There are hundreds of cannon barrels bored into this cliff face, and they're so desperate to rest. And by the way, their desperation has only begun. They're going to use the rope of climbing, which they have, to get down there, climb down one of these tubes to scout it, and get down into the interior of the island. As the GM right now, I can't deny it. I can't tell them, no, I intended Rock Island as being a place where you guys would learn to cope without rest. Or no, these tubes aren't really enterable. You have to cope with the island the way that I envisioned it. I can't deny this is bold, it's inventive, and quite frankly, it's exciting. The music kind of changes. They're climbing down this cliff. They look into this tube. They're basically looking down the barrel of a gun, a giant cannon. And we have our halfling goes down in there, scouts around, finds all this machinery, but there is a way through. So one by one we go, we make a roll. You miss the roll. It is a rope of climbing, by the way. So a crit miss means you fall all the way down. This is a 100-foot cliff into crashing waves. Somewhat high stakes, but nobody misses the roll. They come on down, they get in. They are now into the interior of the island, which is kind of what I didn't want. But in my journal, I did have that the ship, the HMS Dirt that they arrived here on, was going to be captured when they weren't looking and put into a secret cave under the island by the frogmen. I didn't really know the details of what was going to happen, but all of a sudden they've gone down here. I've got my James Bond submarine base cave, my Goonies cave, coming together in my mind while the session is happening, okay? But it's nighttime when they enter this sort of cannon chamber. And there's also hundreds of these, so I can't back up now. They enter this sort of honeycomb of passages which access these cannons. But they're not cannons, they're launchers. This island is designed, when it's ready, to launch an army of frogmen, portal gulpers, corrosion spitters, and frogman warriors directly onto Blackmore Castle. Straight up freaking Bowser style. This all starts to dawn on them, but it doesn't matter, because what's the one thing they're thinking about? Rest. They concoct an insanely risky plan to try to get the wizard to get 8 hours of sleep. The insanely risky plan is that the wizard and one other person, Zippler, our sort of warrior, are going to turn invisible and go to sleep. Our thief, who is new to the group, Wayne is his name, is going to try to hide in the shadows, doesn't make the roll, and catch some Z's. Slim, our halfling, who, by the way, is over time becoming one of our most legendary players, against all odds, too, and a totally humble player, is going to single-handedly try to stand guard so that 3 of the 4 characters can get rested. Do you see why this is so risky? If 3 characters are asleep and 1 is on guard, and he, without making a sound that awakens the others, is killed, is dropped to 0 hit points, he has no way of coming up. This is insanely risky behavior to get rest. But Slim volunteers to go for it. So on the spot, I kind of concoct an idea. Every hour that you try to sleep, we're going to flip a coin if something interrupts you. Because remember, there are frog things crawling all over this island. It's not like 8 hours pass and all the frogs are asleep. No, they're patrolling. This is a military installation for the Frog Nation. Living in the world today, are we looking for a better way of life? Sing it. We are a part of the Froggy Nation. Ho! Sorry. So all they have to do is make 8 coin flips. How hard could that be? They get to the 4th hour, and finally the coin flip runs out on them. And then we use another die to determine what it is disturbing them. And it is a single frog hulk. So remember this page and it's important that I show you these pages, because I'm not making this stuff up. I also play with my journal laying on the table open. A frog hulk, because of a couple dice rolls, wanders up the corridor, and Slim, like a complete crazy person, takes it on by himself in silence, attempting to get the kill without waking anyone up. Because remember, the objective here is not to win, it's to rest. This is a dangerous situation when you want to rest more than you want to survive. So a few rounds are exchanged with no loud noises being made, and Slim almost delivering brutal dagger attacks and using evasive techniques to avoid being hit and to avoid making noise. It's just not enough the way that things play out. Not only does he lose a few pieces of gear as this thing snaps it with his tongue, he is also reduced to 0 HP. He is about to pitch over. And before that, 1 round before he reaches 0 HP, he screams out, "Help!" He realizes he also is to my immediate left. This is a lot of details to take in, but you must understand, I am the game master. Slim sits to my immediate left. If he drops to 0 HP and it's his turn again, he's dead. That means when I'm rolling for a monster, I drop him to 0 HP, then it's his turn. When you sit to the left of the GM in my system, in our system, in OSE Hack, it's instant death unless you get help. But there's no way to get help unless somebody has a coin or there's some kind of intervention. But there was intervention. The turn before, my player who plays Slim realized, you guys, I'm about to drop, and if I do, there's no way to help me. Had to wake everyone up, The rest concept is out the window. Everyone is waking up. They take a few pot shots at the Hulk, but it's too late. This blow is being delivered, and there he goes. He's pitching over, even though he's woken his allies. But our mage on the turn before, coming toward my turn, I know this is a lot, but think about this. Instead of attacking, instead of doing all this grandiose stuff, he pulled out one cursed coin from the bag of holding. For those bitten by werewolves, these coins will instantly transform you. And werewolves regenerate 1d4 HP per round on their turn. My players put all these teeny little puzzle pieces together, and our wizard, one turn away from my turn, flips a coin out next to Slim as he's being attacked. I deliver the fatal attack on my turn. Now it's Slim's turn. He is technically deceased, except for one narrow chance that as his 0 hit point body slumps to the floor, there is a 50% chance, a flip of a coin, that his hand or his elbow or his bare little halfling foot will touch that cursed coin laying on the floor. This is an entire character's life resting on the flip of a coin. This, by the way, the Frodo of our group, the sort of the spiritual anchor point, the hub of our group, one who has gained levels in being a cleric simply through like sheer faith and do-goodery, the best of us. And if he doesn't happen to land on this magical coin and revert to his werewolf self in time to regenerate on his turn, it will be over. And we also decided that since Burr, our elf, who died and was resurrected through a side quest, that if we had a death within the next 5 sessions or so, it would be irrevocable. It would be true death. You can imagine the tone at my table when I said, Slim, why don't you flip that coin for us? And the fate of your character rests on this roll. So a 4, 5, 6 on a d6, you happen to bump the cursed coin as you fall to the ground, and you turn and you regenerate 1d4 hit points. If you roll a 1, 2, 3 on a d6, you slump to the other side, and Slim Pickens, probably one of the coolest characters in our entire campaign, 18.25 sessions of gameplay, will be deceased. There was a vast pause here. We have to stop. We have to drink beer. We realize that death now is real. The value of Burr dying in session 17 has come home to roost. The fear of dying, the emotional intensity of dying is here. My players are no longer unfamiliar with it. It's no longer a surprise. We've seen what happened after you drink 10 beers and your character dies at the end of the night. You go upstairs. You don't want to sit at the table. You want to walk out and have a cigarette on the street, even if you don't smoke cigarettes. It's that intense because this is that kind of campaign. So we take a breath. And my player who plays Slim raises that D6 in his hand, throws it on the table. And by the grace of Temrin, it's a 5. He manages to slump onto the magical coin. Instantly, the fucking hands expand. The snout grows out. His teeth burst out of his gums. His spine pops. He regenerates 1d4 HP, and he's in a fury of rage over coming up from 0. And fucking Dragon Force is playing in the background, and it is time to wreck shop on this shit. And this is only one opponent with all four of them awake now. Rest is behind them. They tear this thing to shreds with their fury because they almost lost their favorite character. And at that moment, we have to take what we call a bio break. This is stoppage of play. The intensity was too high. There's too much yelling. Time to go upstairs. Everybody go pee. Let's regroup a little bit. And remember, he almost died for what? Rest. This tone now carries itself into the second part of session 19. The boogeyman that they conjured up for themselves, by the way, they have no idea how dangerous this island actually is. They decide in their mind how dangerous it is. The boogeyman is now twice as big as he was before. The boogeyman is twice as real. They almost lost Slim. Now their will to take risks, even if they do rest, is so low. And this defines the rest of the session. Now, by hook and by crook, what they decide to do is only the wizard will turn invisible. And only the wizard will try to rest. And they will all stand guard. And by hook and by crook, they get it done. They get a rested wizard. And what do they do with that rested wizard? I think you guys can all probably guess what they do. They retreat. Our thief finds a control panel which operates all these cannon in this cliff face. Realizes there's a big dial. It's meant for frogs to operate it, so it's very simple. There's a dial that goes to all, and there's a lever that says fire. And just being a thief, hits it and pulls it. And all the cannons, they're not ready, by the way. The attack is not ready. All the cannons, the launchers, they all dry fire. Now, any of you guys who know about firearms or archery, you know that dry firing is terribly abusive to this kind of machinery. But dry firing everything at the same time, it just rocks the island. It sends a massive fissure down the cliff face. And oh my God, like you've destabilized the bedrock of this island with all these massive springs and locking mechanisms all going off at the same time. They also find a hatch at that moment, exploring this network of tunnels. The hatch leads down into a hidden cave. It's the Goonies cave. That's where their fucking ship is. There are frogmen tying the ship up with ropes, beginning to strip it for parts. They have Captain Kidd and Queequeg, the only crew of the HMS Dirt, tied up in ropes on a makeshift dock. Time is running out. My players have no chance of understanding the secret of this island anymore. They go down the chute, down the hatch. They go down there. They're trying to save their crew. It's too late. They watch Captain Kidd and Queequeg be eviscerated by frogmen with whalebone spears, tear them to pieces like Swiss cheese. As the heroes descend into the Goonies cave, they use ropes and they use other methods because they have all kinds of cool utility spells and crazy stuff, a bunch of cool loot. They get themselves on the ship. They use these huge poles to start pushing the ship away from this frogman dock. They're killing frogmen by the dozen, trying to free the ship. The island is collapsing above them, and there is the exit to the secret cave right over there. And again, it's another time to do some high stakes shit. Can the ship get out of this cave before it collapses? Well, that's a complex question, isn't it? No, it's not complex. All we need to know is how long will it take you guys to get the ship out of this cave using these big long poles? And how long until the cave collapses? Well, I don't have 100 D4s laying around for no reason. It's time to compare timers. And no, I don't want you to ask about my Barbie. It's a Twilight Barbie. And if you don't like Twilight, you can get the fuck right out of here right now. Just show yourself to the door. So I'll go first. How long until the island collapses? 3 rounds. How long is it going to take to push this ship out? Now, if you know your D4s, which is 4 numbers to remember, there's one roll they can roll, which is not going to be good enough. And this is no longer one character's life on the line. This is freezing, icy water. If these rocks collapse on them in their ship under this island, they all die. They all die. This is the fate of an entire party resting on a D4 roll. But there's only one roll that can be the death of them all, and it's a 4. But you know, when you're rolling that, the 4 certainly does seem likely, doesn't it? Again, by the grace of Temrin, which is the god that they've come to know in this game, they rolled a 2. Of course they rolled a 2. It's strange some nights when the boogeyman is conjured that the dice become your friend. But some nights when you're so bold and so certain, the dice hate you. Isn't that weird? We've all noticed that. We're going to win this battle and the dice go cold. Fuck this, it's too dangerous, we're getting out of here, and the dice get hot. Isn't that strange? I think that's called irony. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. The definition of irony has really been a point of debate ever since Winona Ryder sounded off about it. So, yeah, it's been a long 25 years. And if you know that deep cut, we should get a beer together. Anyway, okay, this pink stuff isn't so bad. Let's reload. Oh, I am a lumberjack and I'm okay. I sleep all night and I work all day. I dress up in girlies' clothing like Daddy used to do. All right, there we go. Look at that. I am a lumberjack and I'm okay. I sleep all night and I work all day. The HMS Dirt escapes Rock Island. The dry fire of all these cannon has destabilized the northward side of Rock Island facing Blackmore Castle. And because of that, it slides down into the sea. And because of that, it tips. And as they're sailing away, the ocean is rushing in where the rocks are sinking. And they see what they actually came to figure out. What they thought was a meteorological phenomenon, which is a giant swirling portal. This portal is being used by the Frog Nation in ways my players don't know yet. And so as they flee it, as it sinks to the ocean, it begins to sort of jerk and convulse and throws out a massive wave of water. Everyone on the deck of the ship, once again, let's have one more roll to see if everyone dies. They all make it. Again, the dice are hot because they're retreating. Does it make sense? No, but it's real. This is what happened. This is not something you can prepare for or write as a game master. You must accept what the outcome may be. It's not about preparation. It's about being in the moment and agreeing amongst each other what is okay and what makes sense. This wave is coming. Does it feel okay to everyone that you have to make a deck save or you'll be washed off the deck of the ship? I mean, that feels like what would happen if an island sank into a sea, right? So you are improvising, but you're also negotiating with everyone. That's what should happen in the story, right? And if you see when you make that eye contact, fuck yeah, that is what should happen. Then let's roll those dice and put some characters on the line. That's what happened. They make the roll, the ship flows out, and Rock Island is no more, and its secret is buried forever. Now, between you and me, you are not the player in my group. You are an observer. And if you're familiar with Dave Arneson's Blackmore world, you probably are getting a sense for what was hidden on that island, of what that island was going to bring into the campaign. There are sort of 4 large moving parts to Dave Arneson's Blackmore, and this was the 4th part. But lost. They do not get really even a clue of what they were meddling with. And really, this is the big cost that comes with players conjuring up a boogeyman. A boogeyman keeps you from the #1 treasure in all of role-playing, which is knowledge, secrets, revelations. What's the best part of a good horror movie? It's when you find out what really happened back in 1873. It's when you find out how she became the serial killer. It's when you find out why Michael was an embodiment of evil at the beginning. It's when you find out who La Llorona really is. It's when you find out the name of Valak and that it's all been a deception. It's when you find out the door, the next opening, the next revelation. And if you don't get that, that is the closest thing to failure that we really do have in role playing. It's not death, because death can be glorious and epic and amazing and lead to what's next. But if a boogeyman frightens characters and players, really characters almost never afraid, it's players who get afraid. If a boogeyman frightens the players away, they don't get to open that door. They don't get the candy back there, which is knowledge, a secret revealed, the next part of the story. They don't get it. It sinks into the waves. It takes them a half day to sail back up the Lake of Hope, what we call Blackmore Bay. And by this time, it has now been just over 2 days. They recover some mysterious metal, but since their spirits are a little bit broken, they don't even have the will to understand that mysterious metal. They sell it. They sell it. They sell one of the hugest clues in the entire campaign to one of the biggest and weirdest truths that Dave Arneson put into his D&D world. They sell it. Back to the king they go with their tails between their legs. And for now, you'll have to sit on that truth, and I'll be right back. Hey, everybody. Okay. I hope everyone was able to ruminate there for a second. Oh, what am I drinking? It's this crazy stuff right here. This stuff is nuts. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. That was a super fun recap to hit y'all with, but it's not over. They return to Blackmore Castle. And remember, at this point, they're servants of the king, the highest level. But there's a funny thing about D&D. D&D giveth and D&D taketh away. Now, just like good horror movies, there is a point where secrets are of no use to you. You can hold out for quite a while, especially with a good story and with believable characters, beautiful drama, and exciting suspense. But there's a point where secrets mean nothing. And we've reached that point at this moment in this campaign. They return to the king with their tail between their legs, honestly. They failed to do whatever it was they thought they were going to do. The king, in the meanwhile, has been dealing with an ever-worsening situation in his kingdom. The green dragons are battling over the redwoods. The Skandahar, the Viking werewolves, seem to be descending through the pack ice, even though winter is closing in. And the Frog Nation, ever being spotted where they shouldn't be, too far north. And most dreadful, Akarov, the arch-vampire, Admiral Akarov, has been draining the king of his life force until recently, rescued by the players in session 17. Now, when I say that you reach a point where there's no use for secrets, I would invite you to do this. Just show the players your journal. Reveal everything. And in this case, it's this diagram. This diagram shows the factions of our world and the different levels of aggression and reasons for aggression they have between them and why war is coming. But it's worse than that. Green Tooth, the ancient, wise green dragon, has joined forces with the Skandahar, the werewolf Vikings, and the still pure elves of the Redwoods, and they are attacking the north front of Blackmore Castle. I'm talking catapults. I'm talking barrages of arrows. Civilians being told to evacuate or be destroyed. They are straight up attacking. And this is what our players return to after their failed journey to Rock Island. The war is here. No, poor kid. That time never comes. Not in this game, anyway. The king basically beseeches his new heroes, his new champions, and says, "What would you have me do? You have risen above all others. Here is the lay of the land." Shows them his map of the realm and all the different parts moving. I show them everything I've really have conceived for this entire campaign ever. And just say, this is just like before the campaign began, where I said, what do you guys think is cool? I am at a moment of complete openness. What would you guys like to get into? And I have no preconception. And this is the most important part to being a kick-ass GM, is not having any preconceptions of what would be the coolest thing to do, or what should be done, or what's right, or any of that. To present a moving world and just ask them what they're interested in. It's just like going to the fair with a 6-year-old and you say, yo, what do you want to do? It's very hard to just say that without knowing you want to go on the rides that 6-year-old isn't even tall enough to get on. But if you're a good GM, you are honestly asking the 6-year-old, what do you want to do at the fair? And what do they say? That annoying fucking squirt gun game. So you will smile and you will play the squirt gun game for 3 straight hours to get Chester Cheetah, because you're a game master. So through a little bit of discussion, my players decide there is something deeply wrong with King Uther of Blackmore. Remember, in session 17, they discovered that just under 2 centuries ago, him and his agents basically invented the undead. They created undeath in the upper parts of the castle. They start to get the feeling that something is wrong here. And they ask, why are you being attacked? I thought you were the rightful king. He says, I am. But there is something in this world, and whoever possesses it, they become the foe of all. And my players are like, what, the dragon gems? Like the gems of Kut? Like what? He says, no. It's something called the Exodus. It is a star-fallen thing. Something that fell from beyond our world. And I possess it. Instead of my players being deathly curious to know what this is, they decide that they don't like the king. They don't want to be on his side. So they create a ruse. They tell him they're going to go bargain with Green Tooth because they've met her before and she's clearly their ally. They've met with the elves of the Redwoods and they are their ally. So they can go talk to them. But instead they use this ruse to go through the front, which is burning houses and crumbling churches on the north side of Castle Blackmore. They go to Green Tooth's army. She's nowhere to be seen. She's a green dragon. She's not in a tent. She's up in the clouds somewhere. They go into the command tent, and it is no other than Venger, who is a Skandahar, and yes, named after the red guy from the cartoon. Venger is a werewolf Viking commanding this army. As they begin to greet him, from behind his command seat steps a shadowy figure, and it is none other than Galmorn, the elf once known as Burr, he who was resurrected at Bramsford Abbey 2 sessions prior. And these players have no idea what has happened or how he got there or why he would be the ally of a Skandahar commander who is his sworn nemesis. And this is the end of session 19. Feels good. Feels good. Yeah. Apotheosis. Now, meanwhile, I had been texting Burr, is his former name, now known as Galmorn, in private. And we played out an entire storyline without the player's knowledge of what happened to him in about this sort of 5-day period when the Bound took him. You guys remember this if you've been following these updates. The Bound took him to some other place to serve some other duty. All that he knows is he fought in this huge battle with an orc army. Orcs have not been seen in our entire campaign yet in any form, to rescue, and this is 3 days prior to this moment, to rescue Venger, the commander of his sworn enemies. But he could not protest because he is bound. When you are resurrected, you become bound to a fallen angel named Helen. And whatever she commands, no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, you will be taken in a form of smoke and embers, and you will serve that purpose. But no one, not even Galmorn, knows where or when that happened. We have now entered a sort of a multi-dimensional, a far larger cosmic space, and it brings its weight to bear in that moment at the end of session 19. So we skip a week, we let it soak in, and for session 20, we are going to be talking about open war. And this is the deep think part of tonight before we get into the QA. It feels good to tell these stories. It feels very good to tell these stories. And you know, sessions are not easy to tell as fireside stories. You need to take notes. You need to use whatever tricks help you remember things. And you have to be bold in your storytelling to recapture some of the emotion that happened. And by the way, I'm only recapturing 1/10 of it. But it leads to my principle for tonight for everyone to think about. Campaigns in fantasy worlds almost inevitably lead to war. Why is that? I mean, we have the Lord of the Rings archetype to look to, but why did it happen in Lord of the Rings? For the same reason that I think it happens in almost all fantasy worlds, which is that we are talking about medieval culture, feudal society, feudal wealth. In a world where each individual is a sort of an island of honor and is also armed and used to danger, and a world without borders in a way, or if there are borders, they're watched. When there are enough conflicts and this feeling of conflict continues to escalate, there's only one outcome because honor demands it. In the feudal world, there are no sanctions that are terribly useful. Everyone is growing, everyone needs more things, but honor demands that things be taken in the open, especially in this sort of Euro feudal kind of sense that a lot of fantasy takes place. Now, I understand that there are a million other stories that can happen in role playing, but in my games, in my fantasy, I just will confess quickly, it's sort of a Eurocentric feudal world. That's the world that I understand. It doesn't exclude anyone on purpose. It's not ethnocentric in any kind of exclusionary way. It's just what I know. And in that world, war, large and small, is somewhat inevitable. It is built into the system. Luckily, our planet has slowly begun to learn that war is not inevitable, that everyone thriving is better. Excuse me. But in the feudal world, that is not the case. Imagine even just fresh water, the battle for fresh water in the feudal world. I feel that open war, large and small, not all wars are World War I. Some wars are small wars between, duchies or baronies, right? And what does thriving mean? It means having shelter, food, and water. That's thriving. Yeah, and I love what you guys are saying here. Yeah, Dean, like Tolkien built this model of story based on what he saw happen in Europe. So it's not like this is like made up, like, oh, I'm inventing a fantasy land where war is coming. No, it is a thing that happened to us as a species. What is it? Was it inevitable? Was it the only outcome when it comes to sort of Europe and what occurred in the feudal period, the medieval period, and even in the Dark Ages? No, of course it wasn't inevitable. Maybe there was a peaceful version of that world, but that is not the world that we live in. We live in a version of Earth where war was an intrinsic part of our development through the very centuries that we fantasize about. And so those fantasies will lead to war. And I don't believe that war is human nature at all. I think it's the opposite of human nature. I think it's the result of greed mainly, and of a few. I think the vast many of us do not want to make war, but the greedy few who hold power love doing it. I do not think that it's human nature at all. I think symbiosis is human nature. Harmony is nature. Greed is part of all human beings, but our enabling of greed is a momentary phenomenon on this planet that will go away. It is ridiculous. It is mathematically insane and sociologically pathetic how we enable the greedy. But we are still in the throes of understanding how to manage greed. And especially in the feudal world, we had even fewer tools to deal with greed. The number one tool being education and equality. So without those two things, which the feudal world did not have, greed and war were intrinsic in life. And therefore, I see them as intrinsic in fantasy games. But unlike the real world, it's not horrible in a game when war is inevitable. It's awesome. In the real world, war is a fucking shit show. It's the worst of us. It's the worst part of this entire planet, honestly. It's probably why the aliens haven't showed us how to make food out of thin air, because we're still being assholes to each other on multiple levels, on multiple fronts, for multiple reasons. But in an RPG world, in a fantasy world, war is amazing. It is the ultimate form of confinement and time control. The player's choices are confined. They have a limited amount of time. The fate of all hangs in the balance. Is there true evil? Is there really a force that deserves to be destroyed? Or is it a tactical war in which one must only dominate militarily to win? I don't know. But these questions become interesting to players who are growing a little bit too powerful to be challenged by a tunnel with an alligator in it. I think Dean again has a great point. Conflict is the fun of a good role-playing campaign, and war is the big conflict. And so as you build, it's coming. How many tunnels can you clear of orcs before you start wondering how many of them are there? Oh, there's 100,000 of them, and they're right over there. This to me feels inevitable. Now, I'm not here to pontificate or to prescribe to you that this is inevitable. What I'm here to do is suggest to you that this could be useful in your storytelling. That hinting at the inevitability of war or the aftermath of war can give you lots of juicy tidbits for your game. In our case, it's an unpredicted, sort of unexpected aspect of what's going to arise in the game. Session 20 is the dawn of war for our game. 20 sessions is an amazing accomplishment for any campaign. But for us, it's one of those rare moments where I will name the session. It's the dawn of war. We are no longer working for coin. We are fighting to survive. We are no longer choosing which fun little tunnel to jump down, which water slide to take, which mug of beer to drink. We are fighting for the very privilege to drink a mug of beer. And this is a very different tone to a game. But if you don't do it, you wind up with what is commonly called murder hobos, which to me is the absolute most destitute, worthless, and pointless version of role playing that there is. The fact that it's joked about so much, I find to be flimsy and in some ways pathetic. It's disgusting. It isn't storytelling at all. It's virtual bullying on non-existent targets. So to escalate your players who are used to being vagabonds into being key players in a fight for survival against what is wrong in this world, to me is a natural progression to a game. And I think it's a good one. It's a good one. It isn't weird or negative or bad or overly violent or something. It's a good progression to a story to put characters to the test, just like in Tolkien. There's one other key piece here. War in a fantasy world is not mechanized war. It's not nuclear. It's not unmanned. It's not automated. It's not weapons of mass destruction. It's a very eye-to-eye war. Much like the great sort of grand battle scene in Game of Thrones. You know, part of that series is fall into oblivion. But that battle was amazing. It was a battle of mud, a battle of pressing in, a battle of weight and of momentum and steel and eye contact. That is the kind of war that makes stories. Nuclear war does not make stories, except for Terminator. And, well, a couple others. But they're fantasies. They're glorified versions of what would really happen, which would be total annihilation. And yeah, I think a lot of you have a sense for scenes and stories that you know that escalate toward war without glorifying it, but that see it as this inevitable part of a mighty character who's going to face whatever odds need to be faced. Like Indiana Jones is a great example. someone who has nothing to do with this sort of grand conflict, but still plays a part in it because he's a moral player. And I would invite you to consider this inevitability and this excitement as you plan one session at a time, as you escalate your group, as you play your game your way. And I agree, poor kid, that Magic can be like WMDs, but not in the scale that the modern world knows it. Not in that scale. I don't think that scale is something that anybody really wants to tell a lot of stories about, except in the retrospective way, like Wolverine. Wolverine tells an amazing story about the use of nuclear weapons. I think it's a very hard thing to tell a cool story about because there's nothing cool about it. And with that, I'd like to open tonight up to question and answer type session. Whew, that was about an hour there. I hope everybody can feel where we're at with the conclusion of session 19 going into session 20, and also feel just how much, me and my group puts into this game, and like where this is going, and sort of what this all means and what it means for us and what it can mean for your game and what this hobby can be about. And we always get deep on Runehammer. It really is always about being together and being better. And I really think this is why I very, very firmly, with harsh language, have to speak out against this murder hobo joke, because it's a disgusting joke and it's stupid, it's worthless, and it makes for crappy stories, and it also makes the people doing it look like shitheads. So fuck a murder hobo. And with that, anybody please put all caps question before your question so I can spot it in the feed, and let's get into some shit. It's pink, but it's not that bad. Has there been any great comedy moments? Yeah, I mean, our sessions are jam-packed with comedy moments, but comedy is a thing very poorly delivered after the fact. So I don't try to tell you guys what's funny about our campaign. It really falls flat. You get you had to be there kind of effect. So I don't really talk about that. My upstairs neighbors are noisy. You need to go to the neighbors. You need to say, why are you so fucking noisy? Can you help me out a little bit here? Just come on, show some stones. Has there been any great comedy moments? You've described weapons, being spent and destroyed. Yeah. Yes, formal lens archives. I have as many mechanics in my monsters to destroy gear as I do to destroy hit points. Never let gear feel safe. Never, even in a bag of holding. Always be trying to destroy gear. What's the latest homebrew mechanic you've added to your game? Every session is jam-packed with them. We decide homebrew mechanics on the fly, so they're innumerable. The whole thing is a homebrew mechanic, except some of the roots which live on the character sheet. Yeah, they started at level 1, and then sort of in the opening scene, we jumped him to level 2. He is still quite overwhelmed, I must say. Doesn't really know what the thief persona is, but we'll give him some time. And by the way, hi, Prawn. When you roll the 20-sided polywire, that looks like a bunch of jokes. I use a D4 to choose which type of frog warrior will approach. If this war becomes an end, do you have to? No, Scott Von Raider. I only plan one session at a time. One session at a time. You must focus on learning the next sword stroke. You cannot think about being a samurai. You have recommendations for preventing feeling monster of the week? Well, there's nothing wrong with monster of the week. But no, I don't really have recommendations because players determine the feel of the game, not you. The GM offers ideas for what the world is doing, but the players really define the action. I mean, we don't make movies about the director. We make movies about the characters. So to me, a good GM is transparent and lets the players embody or sort of manifest what they want the game to be. If it's Monster of the Week, then they've manifested that. How's your thinking evolved with regard to dice resolution? I don't know what probability and distributions mean. I know that some people understand how dice have probabilities. I don't know anything about that. We just negotiate in the moment. Let's say that the cave is going to collapse in D4 rounds and the ship will get out of here in D4 rounds, and we'll compare those dice. Does that sound fair to everybody? That's where I'm at. I don't really know about math or anything. I really have no use for math. What is one thing that you do that gives you comfort? There's nothing to do with the hobby. Well, I don't know. Things that don't have anything to do with this channel on YouTube. Things I don't talk about on the internet. Music, riding bikes, and all the things that aren't part of my sort of online persona, the private stuff in my life. Do you still feel that fear is the currency of the GM? Absolutely. If there's no fear, there's no game. It's just prancing, which is good for the calves. Do you have any recommendation for a good DM notebook? Yeah, Paper Age or Paperage. Best opacity, best notebook overall. Paper Age, Paperage. That's the one you want. And it's because of opacity. I use these Uniball Elite pens exclusively because they never let me down. They're very freaking awesome and dependable for bold lines. And crappy notebooks will have poor opacity in the paper, but Paper Age is my favorite. Is there one thing you could change from the start of the campaign that you would do differently? No. Is it greed when there are limited resources? No. No, it's not. That's survival. But we are well beyond that. We are well into the greed zone. Do you ask directly to your players what they want to experience? Yes. And also, salut, my neighbor to the north. Hello, Matthew. Matthew Gagnon. A fine name. Je m'appelle Ingrid. Comment ça va, my friend? But yeah, right at the beginning of the campaign, I absolutely just say, what do you guys think would be cool? Give me like 3 power words. Matthew Gagnon. I do parle français un petit peu, but we shall see if that becomes useful in the near future. Spoiler alert. No, my français is absolutely horrible. Do you see any tension between monsters that eat gear and players feeling their gear is their character? Oh, yeah. The difference is that monsters definitely want to eat your gear. And if you think your gear is your character, and you're being a little crybaby. Do you run evil NPCs who always think they're doing the right thing? Yeah, you mean like Magneto? Yeah, of course. I mean, intelligent NPCs should be sort of few and far between. Because they can be a burden on the game, and they also can accidentally manifest the GM's will and intelligence. So you really have to be careful with that. But yes, every good campaign needs a Magneto or two. I mean, Magneto is fucking awesome, and he's also right. So his rightness sort of is his villainy, and they are interchangeable, and it's beautiful. And that should create a dilemma. It should be close enough to the truth that it's difficult. Asteroid M is the right solution because the world is a shit show, and it is like mutant racism that he's fighting. And Magneto really proves to be right. It's just his response to being right, for some, is not right because it's violent. He would argue that pressed to the wall, violence is the only option, and et cetera, et cetera. And this is what makes an interesting villain. This is what leads to fun conversations when players can't just kill things they don't like. After years of using terrain and yeah, transition to something simpler. No, just go for it. All we use is here miniatures only for the heroes, dice, and index cards. That's all we use. Formal Lens, what's up? Hey, man. I've heard about Carcass Crawler, but I haven't read it yet. I think you'll find just go, yeah, elf player option really cool. Cool. No need to put a question mark at the end of that, my man. Yeah, sounds really neat. As far as reading, I'm currently about a halfway through American or Mexican Gothic. Absolutely love it. Great book. That's where I'm at for reading right now. Yes, gear is all of progression in ICRPG. And no, OSE has almost no progression beyond gear. I'm not sure why not everyone, but why is it is commonly perceived that ICRPG is anomalous because it uses gear for progression. That's what old D&D did. There's almost no progression for your character besides gear. Like your saves get a little better over time. Like that's it. You get like another spell. Like that's it. It's all about gear in old D&D, and that's where ICRPG takes that inspiration. Does your current thinking like it more? No, OSE is gear driven. I played a lot of Tunnels and Trolls in the 80s. Have you played it? No, I haven't. Looks like really basic D&D though, so in a way, yeah. Hey Chris, thanks man. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it. You know, it's really fun to just deliver campaign updates rather than do this kind of how-to sort of mindset. And it's been a real blast to just tell you guys what's going on in my game session by session rather than pontificating on what makes games great. Hey, I think I caught up. Oops. If you get invited to a 5e game tomorrow, what class would you play? I play Dwarven Fighter, Outlander, Spear and Shield, Fisherman, probably like former conscript, old, high con. Yep. Second wind kind of focused. Quota. That's when you quote Yoda. It's quota. Forever sleep. I saw a great meme that said, no wonder Yoda went to sleep. It's the feeling of like just wanting to die when your kids are asking you so many questions. Oh my goodness. Fucking Yoda. Return of the Jedi. Fucking man. Anakin Skywalker can fuck right off. Hey, whoops. Poor kid. Ever use drop weapons on a 1-hit roll? No, we actually break them. If it's ranged weapons, you come up empty and have no more ammo. So crit fails on ranged weapons are the absolute worst. Dropping a weapon is an anemic critical fail. Whoops, I dropped it. Guess I'll pick it up. No, it breaks in half. It's gone. It falls down a ravine. Or you realize you have no more bullets. Your fucking satchel must have come open back there when you were swimming through that river with all your blunderbuss ammo. No, it's gone. You're empty. How do you spell your new moniker's last name? You mean Gulliman? Gulliman. Bandon Gulliman. I don't know. I don't have a lot of enemies picking up dropped weapons. I don't know. So anyways, looks like we're going to start wrapping it up here pretty soon. You guys doing a bunch of hard work getting these Modifius releases done. It's definitely a learning curve that is something I was completely unprepared for, to be completely honest. So getting my ass handed to me there, stressing out a little bit because, you know, I do survive on this stuff. And also I want to do a really good job for everybody. I really want to, I want these books to be as good as they should be for what they cost. And so it's hard work, but also it's a great time to start thinking about sort of what's coming next, which is we're going to be talking about Viking Death Squad, how to play and how the mechanics work and stuff. And then hopefully we'll be seeing a lot of games, at the end of the year, this year, sort of in fall, and then into next year. And same with Index Card RPG, like if folks think that somehow it's ending or something, like I'm going to stop talking about it or thinking about it, you're absolutely crazy. Index Card RPG is going stronger than ever. We're localizing it in 7 languages right now, if not 9 languages, and that's going to accelerate because I'll have Modifius on my side to help me do localizations. Like we're going to have Russian ICRPG pretty soon. That is super cool and exciting to me. So there's a bunch of fun stuff there. But as all that's happening, it's also time to do the best thing in all of right brain thinking and creativity, which is to think about the next frontier. And that's a little bit where I'm at. And so always keep an eye on my Instagram. If you are on my YouTube, you should be on Instagram. YouTube is a slowly dying dinosaur. Well, so is Instagram for that matter. We really need a whole overhaul of this whole social media thing. The giants need to let go and fuck off because I think they have enough money and their feature set's starting to suck. So they're all going MySpace on this shit. So as soon as they go full MySpace and completely implode, maybe we'll have some cool new tools that'll have like round cornered buttons and things will get better. What do you think of games of Pathfinder? Well, I did a video, and to say that Pathfinder deviated greatly from 3.5 it's a very strange thing to say. Pathfinder is 3.5. Especially 2E, it really just is more 3.5 with more details, more clearly explained. But Pathfinder 2E is cool. I think its time may have come and gone, and they maybe didn't get the memo. Sorry. Plus, with less Wayne Reynolds original artwork, I don't know. Okay, graphic. Abandons the party when he thinks his character is going to die. Oh my God, what a worthless dick. Any thoughts about how to get him to buy in enough? Oh my God, fuck you. That's my advice. Fuck off. I think everyone's going to die. I guess I'll abandon all of you. Fuck you, dude. Seriously. This show is not for kids, by the way. That's why I can just wantonly drop the F-bomb. Whoever this so-called player is, this is a spineless piece of garbage. Fucking hang out with your homies and save their asses. Die with your friends. Fucking abandoning the party when he's going to die. Good God. Fucking, that's a person who shouldn't even have jeans. They should be stuck in like beige cargo shorts for the rest of eternity because it's probably their preferred garb. That was brutal. John. Yeah. Hey, thanks, man. I seriously appreciate that coming from you. And it's not about like the intellectual part. It's the technical part. And so when you're being creative and just creating books that look a certain way, you really, at least at my level, you're not thinking about the technical part. So I am learning all of that at the same time in a matter of days and stuff. So John, thank you very much. That means a lot. When will Russian flavored? It's not flavored. It's in Russian. But yeah, there'll probably be a wafting of vodka coming off the books if they do shit right anyway. I'm calling you out, kid. You know who you are. Yeah, are you kidding? No Valhalla? That is being gentle. I have a player who abandons the party every time he thinks he's going to die. Get out of my house, bro. Jeez, quit breathing my air. Are you kidding me? We really need to stick together on this planet right now. What's that word for that person? Oh, yeah, dick. When he inevitably runs away from the party, wandering monster his ass. No, see, that's petty. That's petty. Don't do that. Because the character, you don't give a shit about the character. It's the player you're targeting. A wandering monster is nothing. I am the wandering monster. And I have only one special ability, and it's to banish like people who bail on their party from my house. Get out of my basement. It's fun and it makes you laugh because it's such an extreme example. But is it extreme? Okay, you guys, thanks so much for tuning in. It has been a wonderful evening hanging out on YouTube here. It's Sunday night, so don't stay up too late. It's a school night. Y'all got to get up tomorrow morning and do whatever the buck it is you do. And you got to do it just a little bit more better than you did it in the past. You got to make this world a tiny bit better every day. We got to work together. We got to stick together. We got to love one another. This whole asshole thing that's happening right now on the planet just needs to end. It's assholes, and I know that there are more good people on this planet than there are assholes. So let's try to slowly just kind of phase them out. Your character achieves everything they want alone. Bye. Channel Mao just killed it. That is a perfect solution. Anyway, great to hang out with you guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. It was a good Sunday evening. I'm going to get back to doodling and reading my book. I'm having a great time just reading a good ass book for no damn reason. I've been listening to Gristmill while I read, and so you should go check that band out. They're crazy. And until next week, you guys keep it real, don't steal, and you're always going to get a deal. Strength, honor, and beer. Take care of one another and take care of yourself. All right, let's be good, and I'll see you guys next time right here on Rune Hammer. Thanks everybody. See you around. Ow. Ow, my elbow.